Predicting Tottenham's next 6 games then across all competitions before the international break, also stemming after. So Copenhagen next this week in the Champions League. I think even despite Tottenham's home form and recent performances, I think Tottenham get the job done. 3-1 win and going for Spurs. Then Manchester United at home in the Premier League. I mean, Spurs being their own worst enemy at home, in particular in the Premier League. United, interested side, 3 wins and a draw, unbeaten in quite a few games now already, 4 or 5. So I think this will be competitive, maybe more than it would have been just a few weeks ago. I'm going to go with a draw, 2-2 for me. Then, after the international break, Arsenal versus Tottenham. If I'm honest with you, and I hate to say Arsenal in such a good place right now, you hope because of the significance of the game that Tottenham and Thomas Frank put up a really good fight. And I hate to read Spurs to lose. I tell you what, I think Arsenal will be much the better team, but Spurs will somehow hold out for a 1-1 draw. PSG then in the Champions League, as Spurs will come up with an amazing game plan like they did in the Super Cup. I think PSG will just have a little bit too much, so I'm going with 3-2 PSG. Tottenham, Fulham then. Again, Fulham, don't write them off. They're a really good side, but I just think, not quite at the races. I think Tottenham win this 2-0. When I say Fulham not at the races, they're just missing that kind of clinical edge and they're making too many individual errors. Having said that, good win for them at the weekend against a very poor, though, Wolves side. Newcastle versus Tottenham. I think Newcastle win this after what we saw the other day. Having said that, their performance against West Ham will worry a lot of Geordie fans, probably their worst under Eddie Howe. I don't think we improve in terms of the result. I think maybe slightly, but I think we still lose, but maybe not as bad. So go with 2-1. So to recap, I think Tottenham will beat Copenhagen, so it's a win. I think draw against Manchester United, draw against Arsenal, loss against PSG, win against Fulham, and a loss against Newcastle. So that is, and predict a win, draw, loss, win, loss. So very mixed. At the same time, predict us not to lose against Arsenal, I'd say, is pretty bold alone with the way they're playing. I think all of these probably going to have some performances about them that will grind out results, but football's a results-based business. People won't like it, especially when you don't get that result. I think we should still be behind Thomas Frank, and he can be judged maybe at the end of this run. He shouldn't be judged in terms of whether we should continue at Spurs or not, but in terms of maybe the job he's doing so far, he could be judged on after all these games, not if he should stay for, the rest of the season. I don't think it should be anything like that, whatever happens. I think these 2 games will be an interesting test. Shouldn't define his future for me anyway. I just think he's got a lot of pressure because of the style of football he's playing. But those are my Tottenham predictions. What do you think Tottenham will get up to in the next 6 games?